It's another day in pandemic paradise, and I'm feeling fortunate.
That's Dr. Jay Dorfman, Associate Professor and Coordinator of Music Education, Hugh A. Glauser School of Music at Kent State University. But to me, he's Jay Dorfman, my very dear college friend and once and future roommate, neighbor, and Kent State professor. We lived together in apartment 22K at the University of Miami, then in the same apartment complex shortly after we graduated in Hollywood, Florida, and then again in the Andersonville neighborhood of Chicago. Jay just can't get enough of me. Jay's always been an old soul who was incredibly focused in college with a clear career path, but also intent on having fun. In college, he'd be out the door by some ungodly hour before noon, while I started my day around lunchtime. Jay began as a high school music teacher in South Florida, earned his PhD at Northwestern University, served as an assistant professor at Kent State, Boston University, and now back at Kent State as an associate professor and department head.
Of course. I know that there are so many people who have it so much worse than I do. I mean, look around. Here I am in my home office as opposed to my office on campus, and
That's a real room. That's not a fake background.
This is the real deal. These things really move and really make noise and stuff, and it's nice to be surrounded by that. I wish I got to play them more than I do, but
Okay. Chekhovs gun is a dramatic principle that states that every element in a story must be necessary and irrelevant elements should be removed. Elements should not appear to make false promises by never coming into play. What does that have to do with this interview? Well, you can bet that since there are guitars in this interview, they may be used later.
So I've got a nice big house and a yard and a beautiful neighborhood to, where my kid can run around, and I'm really fortunate to have security in my job, and as far as we know, my wife's job is secure as well. And we feel really good about those things, especially when you consider that there are so many people that have been laid off or furloughed, or now perhaps even worse, have to go back to work in these environments that are uncontrolled. And so of course I feel really fortunate about all those things. And on top of that, you and I both know some people who have gotten sick from the virus, but everyone I know has recovered, and my family and all my close friends and everybody's well, so that's a really fortunate thing.
In some ways it's like we're, like you just mentioned, all of the things line up. We are healthy. We are in homes that are functional in good neighborhoods. So in a way we're in a bubble, but I don't know about you. At times I feel it closing in. I feel protected, but I feel like that bubble could burst.
Yeah, I feel like it could burst when I have to kind of go to the fringes, I don't know how it's been in, on the north side for you, but here outside Cleveland, it's actually been difficult to get like grocery deliveries and grocery pickup times and stuff like that. So we've had to make the trips, and I'm just terrified of going out, and
Right.
And even when Ohio is going to be one of the first to start lifting, and even when those sanctions are raised, even when we're able to go out legally, I don't think I will be, because you look at it, you turn on the evening news, and it's hard to believe that this is going on in the world because we're in that bubble.
Well, and Amy and I were having this, or we have this discussion a lot, that if Illinois and Governor Pritzker, who've been doing a bang up job handling this, but if they give the all clear tomorrow, no, I'm waiting a good couple weeks before I resume any pre-pandemic activity.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, like, for, the safety of your family. And um, I mean, I look at those people who have protested against the governor's decisions and things like that, and um, I I just can't understand it, and I can't relate to it, and it
Yeah.
actually it takes me back to when this was the early days of this happening, like mid March, with some of my colleagues who were trying to shoehorn in things that they didn't realize could really be damaging to the students, and were um, trying to get a student to play a recital at the end of a semester when and I kept saying things like, you're not treating this like the global health emergency that it is. I feel like I'm going to continue to walk that talk because I want to be safe. I want my family to be safe. And um, you know, I'm not a scientist. I'm not that kind of doctor. But I can listen to smart people and know that it's still going to be dangerous for a long time.
Now, when you have those initials after your name, then you have to act on behalf of all doctors, including medical
That's right.
doctors. So
That's
there
right.
you go.
I thought about epidemiology. I went with music education instead. So
Same thing.
yeah.
So I've known you a long time, and I've lived with you or in the same apartment complex at various stages of your schooling and your professional life. As a high school teacher, then a college professor, and now a department head at Kent State University, your whole career has focused on planning. Could you have ever envisioned this scenario?
I mean, no, I never could have. I don't think, if you're not an epidemiologist, I don't think you can envision a scenario like this. Um, and yeah, we have kind of followed around each other for a while, haven't we? But
Yeah.
but now here we are, both back in the Midwest. You know, First of all, this is actually my second shelter-in-place order, and not a lot of people can say that. But I lived in Boston when the marathon bombing happened.
That's right.
So we were sheltered in place. I mean, that was only for like 36 hours or something like that. But immediately when they started saying shelter in place, that was the first thing that came to mind. And the the seventh anniversary of that just passed. So it's like the same time of year when
Mm.
when normally, like, kids would be getting out of the hibernation out into their neighborhoods, and here we are locked inside. So um, it was kind of um, an eerie flashback for me.
And you lived
Um,
through some hurricanes in South Florida.
yeah, I mean, tropical storms, things like that, and also in Boston, like the two um, greatest snowfall occurrences in the history of Boston, which is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we've seen some tragic kinds of things over the last dozen years or so, but I mean, certainly this is more extreme than any of those things.
Take me through the chronology of the pandemic events. When did the university realize this was serious and that?
Hey, come here, come
Oh,
here. It's okay.
oh, is that Ezra?
No, it's not too late. Come here, bud. He's upset because he forgot to come in and say hi.
Oh,
No,
well, this
Ezra,
is
it's
the perfect
perfect.
time. Right in
Ezra,
the
we
middle of
started
my
late.
asking a question.
Now he's over there crying over
Well,
something.
so you interrupted this Zoom cast, and he's not going to even make an appearance?
Ezra, come here, please.
Tell him if he doesn't, all the sponsors are going to pull out, and this will be a complete disaster.
Come here. It is totally fine. There is nothing to be upset about.
Except
But
this
by the way,
pandemic.
these kinds of circumstances tend to escalate emotion, don't they? Come
Oh,
here.
we see
Here,
an arm.
why don't you
Hey!
put this in your ear so you can hear David? Come here, because I've got one in my ear too. Can you hear him? Say something.
What's up, Ezra?
Daddy, I can't hear him.
You can't hear him?
I can.
You can? Okay. Hold that in your ear so you can hear him.
How you
Not
doing, buddy?
much, David.
Not much. What are you doing today?
Well, I finished all my work, and I just watched something,
What did you watch?
Watching some Spider-Man.
except I already finished it.
You did. What'd you think?
Well, I've been watching the episodes for
Yeah.
like 12 days.
So you are a Spider-Man expert.
Well, not just Spider-Man.
Oh,
Also,
what else?
who else?
Iceman and Firestar.
Yeah, he's watching the cartoon from when we were kids
Oh,
on
nice.
Netflix. Yeah.
So if you could be one of those three superheroes, Spider-Man, Firestar, Iceman, who would you be?
Iceman.
Okay, cool. Why?
Because his power is ice, and he's like so fast, faster than Firestar or Spidey.
And if you were Iceman and your mommy or daddy were annoying you, you could just shoot ice at them and freeze them, right?
Yeah, but it wouldn't hold them off for long. They could like boom. And I started out as Ezra. I just used my ice power to make a cube, to make a rectangle of ice, and then it changes, and then
And boom, you're Ice Boy.
no,
Boy.
all the ice goes somewhere that I don't know, and boom.
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 All right.
Ezra, you're the best. Hey, man, that's life right now.
That is.
There's not a well, it is not uncommon for the kids to come into view of the screen during Zoom meetings, and everyone understands.
Yeah, we've been able to kind of limit those kinds of things. I'm working downstairs in my office. We have an empty bedroom that we converted for Jana to work, and he mainly stays on the ground floor. So
You
we're
can
pretty
run, but
lucky
you
that
can't
way.
hide. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Well, okay. So you wanted to know about the chronology.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really interesting because, university life is about like a groove. Like you get into a groove. Like you understand what it feels like at the beginning of a semester. You know that there's like a slog that goes on through the middle of the semester, and then everything like comes crashing down at the end of the semester. So, this kind of thing has been incredibly disruptive, but to their credit, the administration at Kent State they got out in front of this. I actually went to a meeting before anybody was even talking about closing down, that they deemed the academic continuity committee, like discussing things like, what do we do if we have to shut down? And there were discussions about what happened when the SARS epidemic was going on. And, Kent State is in this unique situation because 50 years ago, there was this shooting. And that's actually the last time that students were offered a pass-fail option with no question. So students could opt to take that when it shut down May 4th, 1970.
Wow, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, this coming Monday was to be the 50th anniversary, and there are all kinds of events planned. There was going to be a concert with David Crosby and Joe Walsh. I mean, just amazing stuff.
Wow.
And actually, the commencement speakers were going to be two students who were injured in the shooting. So
and that can't happen now.
It's all happening virtually, just like every
Oh,
other university. But I actually like there's a web page that has been kind of chronicling what happened at Kent State, and they got out in front of it. Like we started to shut down earlier than just about any other university that I've seen. Um, we had March 10th was actually the first day that classes were canceled. Um,
that is ahead.
yeah, so like the end of that whole second week of March, classes were canceled, and it was really like the faculty had 3 days to take everything and go online. Um, and then we had a week of 100% online instruction, and then we had spring break. So right now they're trying to figure out summer. We have 3 summer sessions, and they've already said that the first 2 will be online, and they're trying to figure out summer session 3, which is mid-July. So waiting for an announcement on that any day. So that's kind of what happened. It was
Has there
just
been has there been talk about when physical classes will resume, or if not when, how that will happen, what that transition will look like?
Yeah, of course, there's talk about both right now. I mean, that's the big debate is what's going to happen in the fall. Like, I've pretty much resigned myself to the fact that the summer is going to be all online, and that's totally okay. But we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. There are a couple universities that have already kind of made declarations. We're going to be back. We're going to be face to face in the fall. There are some that are saying they may somehow delay the fall semester to start in January. I mean, I don't know how that really works. Actually, my old employer, BU, is like the first one that said they were considering that. Um, Here at Kent State, I mean, my planning right now is that we're going to be back face to face in the fall, but I'm actually planning to be able to offer my classes fully online because it would just be neglectful not to do that.
Right. What is the most painful part of this for students, faculty, and you?
Yeah, so you know, so I work in the arts. I'm part of the College of the Arts, which is the School of Music, the School of Theater and Dance, the School of Visual Art, and the School of Fashion Design and Merchandising. And the end of the semester tends to be a really important time in the arts. It's the time when students are giving their junior and senior recitals. They're participating in productions that have taken all semester to put together. So these kinds of things that the students don't get to do, that has been, I think, the most difficult thing for the students. I mean, of course, there's what everyone is experiencing, the isolation, the unknown, those kinds of things. Um, but not getting to do those things that they had planned to do. As I said, we shut down around March 10th. At the end of that week was supposed to be our opera, which is a huge production, you know, many singers, instrumentalists, set designers, costume designers, everything coming together for the end of the week. And it was canceled. Students who have been preparing for 4 years to do their senior recitals just don't get to do them. They might substitute by doing a living room webcast of their recital, but you can't have a pianist next to you. Right. So these kinds of things don't happen for the students, and I really do feel for them. I think, faculty, at least my colleagues, there's been a lot of resistance to moving online, but ultimately everyone realized they had to do it. If they wanted any kind of continuity of learning, they just had to figure it out. And IT departments have become the superheroes of academia. They're up all night every day, giving the support to faculty that they need and to students, creating new tutorials, new devices, new things that people need to get connected. I know I heard the other day the university bought a pallet full of Dell laptops and like a truckload of wireless hotspots for students who need those things. So the IT people have really stepped up and helped out a lot. For faculty, one of the things that is really important is that university faculty by and large aren't just teachers. We're expected to be productive scholars as well. And with this shift to online, it just takes so much time, and it disrupts your life so much that the scholarly productivity kind of is the last thing you're focusing on. So, for me, you asked about me too. I'm fortunate to have tenure in my position. So, if my scholarly productivity wanes a little bit, it's okay. But for people who are pre-tenure and who are fighting against that system, it's really difficult. Thankfully, a lot of universities have recognized this, and they've given an option for pre-tenure faculty to extend their clock. So what would normally be 5 or 6 years before a tenure review now becomes 6 or 7. So yeah, I mean, most universities are doing that for their tenure track faculty, but that's really hard when you're trying to like establish a continuing agenda of research to just have this disruption. And I feel especially for people like graduate students who are collecting data for dissertation studies and things like that, and it just stops. There's just nothing you can do about it.
Let's talk about the silver linings. That's what gets us through this. That's what I try to focus on. How will this make the university better?
It's hard to see right now, I got to tell you. I mean, I know you want me to talk about positive things right now, but the economic impact of this on universities is just enormous. It's going. I would say that there are few universities who will suffer less than a 20% decrease in their budget, and that has to do with where their money comes from, which a lot of places are tuition reliant, state investment in the university for state schools such as mine, and also universities decided right away to refund unused portions of housing and meal plan costs. So for Kent, I mean, it's not a secret, it's out in the world. For Kent State, that's $14 million for which they have to write checks back to students. So it makes it difficult. Kent State is going to be out as a result of the coronavirus. Kent State is going to be out right around $120 million. Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. It's like just, it's hard to even fathom. But in times like this, I think faculty have shown flexibility and creativity in the ways that they're delivering instruction. And one thing that I want to say, and that I've been like kind of preaching to people, is that what we're doing now is not online teaching. It's not online instruction. It's emergency remote instruction. It really is. Everything becomes an emergency in a situation like this, and we've shifted to emergency remote instruction. It's not going to be like this always, but as a silver lining, I think some people who were resistant to online instruction or even to technology integration into their teaching are learning how to do that and may find themselves doing it beyond when this is over.
Well, and that's an important distinction that you made between emergency, e-learning and online instruction, because online instruction is something that you've been conducting for a while.
So I've been involved with fully online graduate programs for 12 years, which is a lot longer than most people can say. But we had, at my previous institution and at my current institution, we have fully online graduate music education programs mostly for practicing teachers. And when you create a class for a program like that, it's a process of 6 to 9 months. It's mapping it out very methodically. Everything is delivered up front so that students can kind of map out their lives. It's working with very highly skilled, intelligent online developers and designers who can help you make your class look and function right. And it can take, as I said, 6 to 9 months to really get that going for an individual class. And now, professors have been asked to put multiple classes online in a few days. I mean, we have really strong upper administration. We have a shared governance model, which people contribute to. The faculty are really involved in running the university. So it's not just one person making decisions. I was talking about the economic impact earlier, and lots of universities around the country have already announced furloughs and reductions in salaries, things like that. Another reason I feel fortunate is that Kent State is a union shop, and our union is a really strong representative of the faculty. So I don't expect to have any salary reduction or furlough time. It looks like what they're going to do is just push our bargaining agreement by a year. So our salary increases may have to wait for a year, but I'm totally fine with that. Given the instability that some people have right now, I'm cool with just waiting a little while for my cost of living increase.
Well, you hang in there. The university, your students, they're lucky to have you. Next time on Another Day in Pandemic Paradise, I'll be talking with author and syndicated columnist Ruben Navarrete about one of his recent columns on introspection during the pandemic and his take on coronavirus cliches.
You get bonus points for being ingenious, having ingenuity, having creativity, having hustle, having drive. Those are the people who get ahead. The ones who get knocked down and find a way to get back up. And unfortunately, the big epiphany for me, that's all Americans.
In the meantime, be smart, be safe, and be well.